welcome, ChunkyB, and thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. No problem. We'll go ahead and get it started. First question: when did you start MCOC, and what kind of caught your eye about it?
Oh man, God, I was not an original player. I probably got in a few months after it started. Honestly, my kids started playing it, and I'm like, well, that's kind of neat. Um, but the social aspect was like, hey, maybe I should watch what you guys are doing. Let's make an alliance. And so that's kind of where it started. And then 3, 4 weeks after that, they moved on to other things and basically got me hooked and ditched me. And here we are today.
Yeah. Okay. So, about how long did it take you before you really got into like a higher tier alliance and wanted to start playing competitively?
So that was a while. Once they were done, I played a lot of solo. I can remember my first AQ fight with an alliance ever. I had no clue that you could move to a node and like go into the matchup screen and then back out. And I moved to a linked node against a Magneto. And the countdown's going, and I'm freaking out, and I'm trying to not suck and get immediately kicked out of an alliance, and went for the fight and got yelled at, and that was really super awesome. Um, so I kind of those were the days of 4 stars are gods, and premium crystals were just about all that there was. And from there it was tooling around, doing a lot of map 3, and then finally moving up later on to 6 and getting into actual organized alliances. That was you don't see them so much anymore. You've got family alliances now, but back then it was feeder alliances. Like you'd play in the lower prestige alliance of a group of alliances and prove prove your worth and get pulled up over time into the big boys league. I'm doing air quotes with big boys because
Right,
we all
right.
thought we were big boys back then. This is before war was even a thing. So it was good times. This is a much different layout, uh, much different ecosystem back then. Just totally flipped at this point.
Yeah. Okay. What were some of the biggest changes that you think happened from back then to now?
Well, obviously the mechanics are much different. Like when if you were to original here, you know that there were basically a couple of different archetypes for the characters. Like you had the large male, the medium male, the female character, and they all basically did the exact same thing. They were just different skins. Um, you still got some of that in the game where your Winter Soldiers, I think Punisher, like they still have some of the same move kits. The Wolverine and the Black Panther specials are basically exactly the same. So going from that, it seems like somewhere along the way, either Kabam hired some people or just learned what they could do with the engine a little bit better. And you started getting a lot of really cool animations, a lot of really cool things. I mean, a lot of people don't know that Doctor Strange used to walk out into the fight and stand on the ground. And when they see that in a really old video, they're totally blown away. So there's still some really killer videos from a couple of players that were day one guys that were wiping out content with a 3 star Doctor Strange and had some of the most sick intercepts you'll ever see. Like before we all knew what the word intercept was.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
that was always fun.
So once you got all that like into perspective, how long did you start into the info bot?
So um, man, that goes back a long way. So about a year or so into playing, Um, I met a handful of guys, started helping them out with some graphics. Um, those guys were running the Infinity Watch rooms. And so I joined with them, became an admin. We ran that for a while. Um, Eventually, we started the Shield rooms. So I was one of the creators with a handful of really great people who are still around and still running all of that. Um, we did some good stuff. We started the War Games room, which was kind of my baby. Um, you see a lot of you see a lot of that around now, which is really great to see because competition is awesome. So we would create our own in-game events. This is back when um, this is back when diversity first became a thing, and the game got really, really boring for a while. The same thing day in, day out. War was basically just broken because it came down to who had the best diversity, and you just ran through a map killing terrible defenders, and then it was over. So we started designing just tons of events. We do one per week. After 3 weeks, all the top three from those three weekly events would get into a much more difficult monthly kind of championship event. We would pay out um, basically units. I would be gifting whatever sort of stuff that they wanted from my own account because I was the idiot that decided we needed to gift people to do stuff. Um, so, so that got rather costly, but we did some really fun stuff. From there, we went into tournaments, and then one day I heard that the guy that ran Concierge was quitting and gonna nuke all his rooms. And so at that point, Concierge was like the number two bot in the game. Um, I don't know why players chose Line way back in the day. I have no clue. I had never heard of Line, but somehow just players decided that Line was where they needed to be. So um, Josh Sizemore was his name. A lot of people, if they know him, they'll have plenty of fun stories about him. But he had a ton of rooms, a really unique recruiting style, and he was ready to burn it to the ground. So I know plenty of people approached him trying to save the rooms, trying to make sure that all the users had a home. And we had plenty of run-ins before, but I figured, what the hell? Let me see what I can do about this. And so talk to him. Took about 2 weeks to kind of gain his trust and make him feel good about it, and took over those concierge rooms from there. Um, that was pretty interesting. Um, kept. I'm still in Shield. Still try to help them out when I can. And just this past year, I've known Mad Max for ages. We've always been buddies. We've always chatted about things. We've always worked on different things together. And, I came to him this past year and was like, look, I'm getting older. I've got less time. You're the same way. Um, why don't we just kind of push everything towards Infobot, kind of unite our efforts instead of working against each other to try to be the first one to get something out to everyone. Uh, you don't have rooms, but you've got followers on the bot. You've got a great calendar guy. You've got some great art guys. Let's take our teams and merge them and use our rooms. And so that's kind of where we went from there. We were both in CCP together. Like I said, had known each other forever. And it just was kind of the logical next step to make sure that as many users as possible got what they needed to get. And
Okay.
since then it's been cool. We brought in Frontline Dan, one of the coolest guys in the community. I've never seen literally anyone in 6 years that works harder than him.
Still
Uh,
never taken a day off.
Dude, I mean, like I met him in New York, and I talked to him a little bit before that, and I started blasting his page as soon as I saw it. Miss Insomnia, one of the best leaders of any alliances that's ever been. Um, she has a shield. Uh, her alliances were called Shield. She had a Shield friends and family group, and I saw him start working on things. And he was basically building a calendar pretty much in Google Calendar. And I mean, just busting his butt to get info to people. And I was just super duper impressed with how nice he was, how hard he worked, how committed to getting the right info he was. And so we started blasting that on Concierge. And it was like a weekly cool thing that made me feel good to be able to kick it out there and, hopefully send some traffic his way. And so when the whole InfoBot merge came along, that was one of the stipulations that I had was, look, I want to get Dan involved at a high level. I want him able to blast what he wants to blast. And Max is no dummy. He knew immediately, like, yeah, let's please let's get him no matter what. So that was a cool thing.
Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned you're a part of the CCP. How long have you been a part of the CCP?
So I God, maybe 3 years. Um, if you guys remember Adora from the forums, she's probably been gone for 3 to 4 years. She was the one that brought me in. She had brought me into some group discussions with devs that Kabam called the round table. Really good, really good discussion about direction of the game. Not necessarily testing anything, just, hey, look, this is what we want to do for war. This is what we want to do for this. This is what we want to do for this. Let's talk about it. And that was one of the first times to have direct dev access and actually hear not just what was going to happen, but the mindset and the goals behind it. And so shortly after the roundtable stuff, she was like, we need to get you into CCP. They actually had a couple of problems with the roundtable and a few people not honoring the agreements that they had signed. The round away, and she was like, if you want to keep doing this sort of stuff, if you want to be involved, this is the best way that we've got for you to do it. Um, so 3 years, I guess. I'm not. I left the CCP 3 4 months ago, probably. Um, just kind of became a little bit different than what I would hope for it to be. And it didn't really serve a purpose for any of my goals anymore. I'm obviously not a YouTuber. I'm not creating content and running streams. Um, and that's really what it's built for. And so, I can clean up some space, uh, cut out some of my own headaches, and let them do their own thing.
Okay. So was there any particular moment that you actually had a say in whether or not that the game was changed in a certain way?
Uh, Loads of times. Um, Not that I'm special or anything, but I mean, every player thinks they know what needs to happen in the game. Having access is really half of the battle. Being listened to, having just a willing ear that will be like, okay, yeah, what you got? So gifting going away is probably one of the biggest things that probably would piss off a lot of players. That was me and a couple other people who I won't name just so that they don't get anybody yelling at them. Um, Plenty of times. One of the big things I did was run a log out uh, 4-ish years ago, which caused an enormous clamor. Seaton, Mutamat. Um, I'm being told that I am a spy for MMX and New York, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I've been involved in a lot of stuff, but it's it's easier for me to do things kind of from the background, so I don't run around and talk about it a whole lot. But the one that people would recognize right off the bat would have been the gifting thing. And
Okay.
gifting should stay gone. I mean, I know people don't want to hear that. It's super duper awesome to be able to get a revive from your ally mates. I'm a big fan of that. I believe in helping folks. I love to get helped here and there. Um, but I, more than anything, pretty much every move I've ever made was trying to make sure that it's the fairest game possible. You invest a lot of time, energy, effort, coordination, and for a lot of people, money in this game. And for it to play out like the Wild Wild West over and over and over again is pretty much ridiculous. So, those have been the things that I've worked on the hardest.
Okay. So you said the CCP was a little bit different from when you joined it to when you left. Is there like any particular reason why you left compared to what it was when you started?
Ability to affect positive change. Um, First off, Glisker Cade is one of the coolest dudes that has ever been in this game. Sorry, just looking at chat real quick.
Yeah, Glysaur.
Uh,
Yeah.
Cade was awesome. I wish he'd come back. Um, he was great to be around. Just super duper fun guy. Um, but yeah, CCP is the PR wing, man. Um, that's what it's there for. Kabam is a company. They have a bottom line to reach. Um, they've got numbers they've got to hit every month, and they've got plans of their own. And they do a lot better job communicating to the CCP what those plans are when they can. Uh, but it's literally, hey, go make some videos, guys. Let's sell some crystals. And that's okay. That's what content people who have access need to do. And I'm not saying that anybody in the CCP is, a bad guy or lady. Um, it's just that seems to be the focus of what Kabam wants going on with that group.
Okay. Um would you say I kind of had a question because a lot of people are going to be getting some stimulus checks in America here recently, and so I kind of wanted to ask a question about spending money in game. Is there a way if people are gonna go ahead and buy something in game, how would you go about doing it if you're gonna spend money?
So the fun part of spending money in game is gambling. I mean, we literally spend our days in a digital casino trying to get pixels, right? Like that's pretty much what it is. Crystals are obviously the most fun on a very deep psychological level. They do a lot of things to us. Just having that chance to quote unquote beat the system, luck up, hit the jackpot, whatever you want to call it. What you have a guy like the most famous crystal opener, Calwell. Dude didn't play his own account 90% of the time, showed plenty of fight footage, but what did people go watch him for? They wanted to see the crystal openings. When you are in a chat, whether it's Discord, whether you are browsing Twitter, whether you are online or any other chat group, you know that you're going to see some look at what I got. Look at what I got. I got Mangog. I got whoever it might be, the hot champion of the time. That's what gets people excited, and that's what's the most tempting thing. But to me, it's also the dumbest way to spend your money if you're going to spend it. To me, if you're going to spend, the smart spend is to clear content every time. So, um, you're you're going to still get to the crystal opening at the end of the content, whether it's champions, whether it is catalysts. and you're still going to have a very high percentage chance of getting screwed and being very unhappy. Um, I think that my Act 7 Nexus was Kingpin before any buff was ever announced. Iron Patriot and Madam Stretch. Um, and so, I'd rather finish content if I'm going to have units or spend on units. And some folks love to open crystals, and I do too. I just feel extremely stupid and like the biggest mark in the world when I go that route. So if
Okay.
anybody's ever going to ask me, hey, I'm about to drop this, hey, July 4th deals, it's Christmas time, whatever it might be, um, what content you got left to do, dude? Where are you at? How's Act 6 looking? Have you looked at Act 7? What are those variants looking like now? That's a great way to grow your account. You can rank up a whole lot of champs ripping through a variant. That's where I'm gonna push people to go, but I also know that's not the fun answer that anybody wants to hear.
Okay. Jax, you got any questions?
Yeah, I do. So you're talking about the CCP and how you left. You talked about like it's not like you said it's not from what it is from when you started in the CCP. What would you like to see from the CCP besides just positive changes added to the game?
So there was a time in CCP where um, you had the ability to influence the game. You had the ability to say, and I'm not saying that they completely don't now, but what I saw there was it went from more open discussion about it to, all right, this is where we're going, guys. Like, if there are problems with it, like, okay, we'll look at that, but this is where we're going. Um, I vocalized many times what I wanted and what I wish they would do was empower players, enable players to have a voice and be heard. Being in the CCP grants you access, as I said earlier, but that access is realistically power. Um, you you do have influence. You do have the ability to do things, and I'm not necessarily the right guy that needs to be in there doing that. Um, it just happened to be that I was there, and I'm around a ton of players, and I hear literally everything from players from the extreme top 1% down to folks that are working their way through Act 3 or running map 2, 3 in a queue. And it put me and other community people in a very unique position to be able to be the voice for those players to kabam, to be able to say, look, this is what's happening here, this is what's happening here, this is what's happening here. Here are the bottlenecks that are affecting these players. Here are the issues that these players are having. Here are the issues that all players across the spectrum are having. Now, again, not saying that CCP doesn't have that access now, not saying that they can't uh, bring up things in conversation. It's just not anywhere near the focus that it kind of sort of was once back in the day. It is publicity, man. That's what it was supposed to be. They kind of tried to, when they brought in community people that were not necessarily content creators, they tried to kind of run two things side by side where we could focus on the game, focus on bettering the game, focus on problems with the game, along with publicity stuff. And that just didn't really work. And they realized that. They made a couple of promises here and there to bring back the round table, to create, kind of split the CCP up into actual content people and people more focused on, hey, let's look at what's going on in the game, what we might need to change, how we might need to adjust where we're going, that sort of thing. And they just kind of failed to do that, which, not trying to come at them for it. they've got a job, they've got a job title, they've got bosses telling them what to do. A lot of times hands are tied and there's only so much they can do. And in the end, maybe they don't give a shit. So is what it is. It was just another chat to deal with for me that wasn't getting me anywhere or furthering any cause that I gave a rip about. And so, no reason to be around anymore.
Okay. So, did you ever have a YouTube channel or stream at all?
Oh, I've got a YouTube. I just never really use it for much of anything. I've played some Rocket League on there. I've thrown up a couple of videos. I do. I like to laugh, man. So when I was very active on the forum, and we had my little symbiote, I named him Little Steve, and that name kind of took off. And then I got a ton of forum posts. Kind of like fan fiction posts about little Steve living with me, not wanting to leave. A bunch of really terrible photoshops that made me just die laughing. Um, I'll see if I can find the link and throw it in the chat because again, it makes me laugh. Um, so I made a video when they took Steve away from us, and I think everybody, at least in the states, knows the commercial about adopting dogs that has the really sad
Yeah.
song "Flop My
Yeah,
Ball" in
yeah,
the
okay.
background. So I did a really bad video where I threw Venom and Little Steve in the bath, and I was really pissed that the band was taking him away. I'm like, take away take away the boosts. Like, just let us keep him. Like, he's the coolest character y'all have
Hmm.
created yet. Like, why is it such a bad thing to have him? And I mean, I raised hell in CCP about it as well. Um, there were lots of times where it just did not like me a whole lot, and that was one of them. But they were nice enough to tell me that the really bad photoshops made their morning meetings every day. So I was I was pretty happy about that.
uh, okay.
I I really wanted to see how far I could push with that and just keep it going. And through that entire month, like I kept that thread going with ridiculous stories about taking little Steve on Halloween. He was going to the beach with Tony Stark. Tony took him to amusement park. Like it was ridiculous.
Okay. So, did you have you did you ever go into the forums a lot, or do you still go into the forums a lot?
I haven't in a very, very, very long time. I was super duper active there, which is, if you're trying to get into CCP, like I saw Samudo, a couple of other people recently, um, talking to Thel, talking to Mike, hey, I submitted this, I haven't heard back, et cetera, et cetera. The best advice I can give you is to be active. The forums are a great place to just get in, help people. I'm obviously a big believer in trying to help folks. A lot of people help me along the way. So, anywhere I can give back is great. Getting on there into the discussions, helping people get past content, explaining things to new players that helped build a name for me. Um, it at least got people to know who I was, even though I wasn't out there creating content and on YouTube all day long. And I think that's a good way to do it. But yeah, I was there all the time. I mean, I was fighting with grounded wisdom. It was a constant thing for me. And there's some trolling here and there, obviously, because it's all entertainment in the end. But yeah, yeah, I've been on the phone forum forever. I haven't been back in a while. Um, I've been banned two, three times from there for run-ins. Me and Mike got into it, but Mike's always he's probably got the worst job in the world as far as dealing with the community. So you got to kind of give him a break here and there. And even after the run-ins, he's always been pretty cool with me, straightforward in any situation in which he could be straightforward.
Okay. So, you have been to NYCC and you did perform at the Contest of Champions. What is a showdown? Or what was it called?
Yeah, the first showdown,
Yeah,
the in live one, Summoner Showdown.
yeah. So, what was that like?
Mind blowing. Totally cool. So I got to go up there. So Brian, BG was the host for my week. We were the very first week, and Starfighter was there, and Slug. I guess we'll call him Duck Slug, because that's what Marvel and Disney changed his name to. That was really funny. So I was super stressed about the both of them. I had known Star for a long time. She used to be in my events room, and she had won a few events, and I know she was a real good player, so I was super stressed about that. I didn't know Slug well. I knew his work with Aunt May. Um, I knew that he really knew his stuff. So I was trying to be real focused on preparing and not embarrassing myself completely. And New York was a blast. I went out and got into all the trouble I possibly could. Uh, Marvel was really cool. Um, they were a little bit weird. Wouldn't let you take pictures of anything. I mean, like they were just sit here, don't take pictures, don't touch anything, sit here and look at stuff and wait for us to be ready. And so, and so, so you're sitting in a room with these 7-foot statues of every one of the champs. I mean, like literally all of them, and they've
Were they
got a
cardboard
couple of.
cutouts?
No, dude, they were like, they were. if if I were standing next to him taking pictures, you wouldn't know if there was a person in there or not. Like it
Oh my
could
god.
have literally been a war machine there. Um, and they sent these two interns in there with us to watch us and make sure that we don't do anything we're not supposed to do, and just let us sweat for a couple of hours while they prep everything. And I'm sure a lot of that was them getting Brian ready, and Kabam only had so much to do with this. This came down from kind of on high with Disney Marvel, and it was an amazing thing. I hope they continue it next year. I hope more players get to experience it. Um, it was extremely cool for any sort of superhero geek out there. But we were the first group, and since since nobody had done this before, since Kabam wasn't there at all, nobody from Kabam was there, and Marvel slash Disney was running it. Nobody really knew what was going on, and so like we get there, and um, it's an unmarked building. You go in, there's a pretty mean looking security guard there that you have to go by. None of our names are on a list. We're all four standing there digging through our phones, trying to figure out whose name we can throw out there from an email to be able to get by this really scary guy. We're already late because it took us a minute to find the building because there's zero signage. Like they don't want people knowing Marvel's there. And it was just extremely stressful. We're like, hey, this is supposed to be going on now. We got to get in there. And he's like, you're not on this, dude. Just like, I need a name. I'll call somebody for you. And like, BG is kind of the adult in the room. He's the one that's worked with Kabam before. And so he's trying to do what he can on his phone, and I just blurred out like John Marvel. We're here to see John Marvel, which is the dumbest ass thing that you could possibly say, but in my head it was really funny. Um, and And BG gave me this look of like, you just killed us all. This man is going to kill us, and if he doesn't, I'm going to kill you for saying something so stupid. And I just busted out laughing because the hell else am I going to do? And I think it was Star that actually found the name in her phone and kind of diffused the situation and got us to actually get in and go do what we were supposed to do. So
Okay.
fun stuff.
Yeah. So, what did the fights look like, and
Uh,
who did you
so
use?
uh, ours was Deadpool. So he had the oh God, what do they call it? Where your health pool switches every X amount of seconds. Um,
Um, I'm not 100.
aspect of
Is that
something. So
evolution?
yeah, it could be. So you're beating the hell out of him. He's almost dead. And there's no timer to be seen. It's always driven me crazy because there's
Okay.
no
Okay.
timer for that
Sanders
node.
got it.
Gotcha. And then your health pools swap up. So we didn't know who the defenders were going to be. We didn't know what the nodes were until they brought us up there to the couch to kind of do the rehearsal. And they told me I was going to be going first. I don't know how they picked that, but that sucked, and I almost needed to change my pants. Um, but the good thing about it was they were like, "All right, Chunky, you sit here." And so I sit on the couch, and they're like, "All right, you're going to not touch the phone until we tell you to." And I'm like, "Okay." And so then they're going through everything and they're like, okay, at this point you will pick up the phone. So I pick up the phone and I'm like digging through it and looking at the fight and pull up the nodes and I look back over my shoulder and try to make sure Star and Slug can see it too. Because I didn't want to be all douchey and like,
Hide it from
disconnect the
them. Yeah.
HDMI cable and be like getting inside information.
Yeah.
So um, so we got a couple of seconds there to look at it and glance, and I think I was trying to pull out my phone and take a picture at one point, just to be able to think about it. But then the rehearsal part was done. It was just kind of like a walkthrough, and they're like, "All right, so go eat some lunch and then come back, and we'll be ready to go." And so we went to a little cafe, grabbed some sandwiches, and kind of talked about it. And none of us really wanted to say who we were gonna be using, if I'm remembering right. Like it wasn't um I mean we were all kind of like just happy to be there, but I'm super competitive and I was just plotting the whole time. So I went in with Infinity War Iron Man. I went for the hill block. Figured that if I could land the hill block at the right time, it would stop him taking my health pool from me when it swapped up. And I honestly got super duper lucky on a very bad heavy that just kind of worked out and then dropped them with the L1. They gave us a 1 minute warm up round where you could pick whoever you wanted, you fight for 1 minute, and then you get your real run. And if you want to change your attacker, you can. So I got really close to actually taking him out on the first like trial run, and so I'm like, all right, cool. Now I'm gonna totally screw this up somehow. But got lucky, and and like that heavy man, like I knew I needed to throw a hill block on him, and I was way too far away. But I was expecting him to be a little bit more aggressive and come at me. And so I'm like, screw it. And I started to throw it, and he just stood back at the wall staring at me. And then on that last swing of the arm with a like little electric sword or whatever the hell it is, he ran right into it, landed the hill block, and I think I finished him with an L1.
Nice.
So super duper lucky. And both of those Star and Slug, like they were both kind of seeming like they wanted to honor the competition. I don't know if they wanted to use Infinity War Iron Man, but then didn't because I had used them. I think they both went in with Fury, which was a great call. But it just the AI was weird for them. I think it was a hell of a lot more AI problems than them problems, and the fights just went bad for him.
Hmm.
So the cool thing was I got to watch Panda take on the same fight when his week came up, and he used Torch, and he blew my time away. Like, I mean, Panda just ripped him one with Torch. And at the time, I didn't know a lot about Torch, so I was at work and I'm like going out for a smoke break to watch this because I wanted to see how everybody else did. Like, I was super duper invested in this. A whole lot of friends were involved in it, and a whole lot of people that I just look up to in the game. And so I wanted to see every one of the rounds, and Panda just totally ripped me. And so, like, one of the last weeks was when Miss Insomnia went, and she had been texting me all through that week, super duper nervous. Like I felt so bad for her because she's a good player, but she doesn't give herself credit. And she's like, just tell me what to do, Chunky. And I'm like, look, Panda's way destroyed mine, and I don't know that I could do what he did, but he's got to have the best way. All I knew how to do was keep hitting him and throw a heavy every now and
Yeah,
then. And so, and she blew Panda's time away. She took in Iron Man, and I mean, it was just like magic. Like she beat everyone's time.
hmm,
And I was so super stoked. I can remember like screaming for her watching the live stream. Like I was so happy.
that's awesome. Um, so yeah, my next question would is what kind of content would you bring back from like say earlier months that you liked more than other events?
Uh, I'm a big lover of side events. Um, I think they're fun. I think they are a good kind of mix up to what's going on, just to give you something different to do. Uh, the is it the Modoc Labs or Hotel Modoc? I don't remember which one they call that, where you get the little re-rolls for the nodes on the defenders.
I
Those
think that's
were
the
some of
Modoc Labs. Yeah.
those were some of my favorites because those are super duper evil. And I love the evil side of things. And I love the evil side if it is um a voluntary thing. Like don't throw that shit into wars or AQ or any like permanent content. Like let's get mean with the voluntary stuff that's on the side. And let's have different levels of it so that anybody can participate. Um, what I'd really love to see more than anything is the monthly queue to become an every other month queue. I think that, I used to bring this up in CCP a lot. I think that the cadence of development is way too fast. Um, I think that I get the feeling that working at Kabam as a developer, you just chug coffee and move as fast as you can 24 hours a day to spit out content. And I think the players are the ones that end up hurting, basically. So, one of the things I always begged them to do was you have so much content from all these years, and you're always developing more, and you're always making new side quests, and that's awesome. But how about, you do a month on and a month off for EQ? You've got your permanent content that's always there, whether it is the acts, whether it is
The
the legends
variants
stuff,
or yeah, yeah.
and the variants. And so that month off, all you have to do is recycle content from side quests. Like you don't have to get lazy about it. You throw in the new champs that are there, you test out some new nodes so that you see these new nodes that you're creating uh, in side quest content that isn't going to hurt the player if it's screwed up. You know what I mean? It's not going to cost them AQ potions, revives, or screw them in a war season.
Yeah.
And along with that, that gives you more free time to develop the next EQ. And the same thing for champions. Stop releasing champions every month. Like they come out, they're bugged. We don't know if we should really really rank them up or not. We've got to wait for videos to hit. Every single video that comes out has the word insane used 15 times on it. And they're fully boosted and they're rank 3 and they're tearing through ROL or Thing and Abyss of Legends or Act 6 or what have you. Like, let's just slow down and get it right and stop this frantic chase that's going on. And that'll never happen. And
Yeah,
that's disappointing.
I kind of feel like that would make more room for the older champions to get a little bit more love too. You know.
For sure. But also to get love in a way that you're not going to have a situation where the community has to freak out for a week straight. Uh, and all of a sudden, okay, well, these changes are being rolled back for Hood.
Right.
You've got half of the community that loved the new Hood, and then you've got the people that ranked up Hood specifically for the utility that he had before that. And you're causing problems that don't need to be caused. Whereas if you just kind of slowed it down a little bit, uh, focused on certain things. Again, gave us some more side quests, recycle them, throw some more nodes at them, and then roll forward in the next month with some new champs. If you've got more time, I'm not a developer, and I've heard all kinds of excuses um, as to schedules and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But realistically, it comes down to there's no nice way to say it. It comes down to we've got revenue goals and this is how we meet them.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, though.
Okay. So going back to like the hood buff, what do you think he was good before or after the buff? And what are
I
kind of your thoughts on that?
I think he was amazing. I, not top tier, but in the right hands, amazing both ways. And I say that because um, I have a buddy, a guy named Jedi, who is one of the best players I've seen. He was actually in the showdown the week of Miss Insomnia's week. Uh, Jedi has played in Kenobi since I've known. Well, first he played in Shield with me, and he taught me a whole lot of stuff, walked me through war fights when we were pushing. Just a really good dude, a really great player. And Jedi used to use Hood all through Tier 1 wars and take down bosses all day long. He was just that good with them. Uh, but that damage, dude, after the change, that damage was cool. I was about to rank 3 mine because I'm sitting on a purple T5C and I don't have anybody that I really want to rank 3 in the Mystic class. And I started testing them. I saw some stuff on Twitter with people going crazy with them. And I was going to rank them up. And then the announcement hit that they were going to roll them back. And so um, I kind of get both sides of that discussion. Like I don't necessarily feel one way or the other. I definitely get both sides. I saw what Kat Murdoch wrote up. Kat is a huge Hood fan. Kat made some extremely good points about ranking him up for certain purposes. When you look at a rank up, I guess depending on where you're playing, it's not this singular event. It is not just this one thing that lives all by itself in this vacuum. That rank up fits into a roster. That rank up answers questions or answers nodes for when you are going into content. And so it's got to fit in with a team. And so um, that's kind of where I get what she's saying. It's all of a sudden she's now got a hole in her roster that she has to figure out another way to fill, and she may not have a champ that can fill that hole anymore.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Um, is there a champ that you would buff, like an older champ that you would buff, and what
Strange.
kind?
Give me
Strange?
Strange.
You want
Now.
Strange back from
Now.
12.0?
Do it now. Um, was my favorite champ. He was my first big rank up as a 4 star. Was my first max. I never got a Scarlet Witch, so I know everybody loved her. But I would take everything with Strange. I would go up against on the first war map. I don't know if y'all remember that the top part of the map had those 3 lanes, and the bottom lane was always full of night crawlers and spiders because every node was an evade or a stun immune node. And that last mini was always OG Spider-Man. It was stun immune. It had some evade on it, and I had taught myself how to take that with Strange just by intercepting with his L1 all the time. And there was nothing that I couldn't do with Strange. Like there was literally everything I did was with Strange, and his his nerf was so very unnecessary. Like 12.0 had to happen. Uh, the perfect block teams. There was just stuff that was going to hold the game back from being able to progress. So I get that. But the strange side of things, there was no need for that. And he's just so broken now. Like I'll play with him every now and then, and throw Mephisto and all of the different synergies that he needs on the team. But the days of carrying a full team for synergy has been dead since like the 3 weeks after it started. That part of the meta of the game was so short-lived, and it was almost like a prototype that Kabam was trying out, and then they just threw it in the trash because they knew that it was worthless. And so, people say Strange was hit that one big time in 12, but realistically, they when they started playing with synergies and they started trying to buff champs through synergies, it was so short-lived for him. Like he's been hit twice, as far as I'm concerned, and he's so fun to play, and he's got such a shit prestige. Like, why are we being mean to him? What did Doctor Strange do to Kabam's family that they have to do these things to him?
Okay. Jax, you got anything, bud?
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Doctor Strange is such a cool character. I actually started like making these fan buffs myself, and my brother saw like my fan buffs for Spider-Man Symbiote and Captain America. He's like, dude, I want to do a Doctor Strange buff, and so I definitely feel you. I can't wait to. I hope he gets buffed. I
Hell
can't wait.
yeah, man.
So you said that. So are you gonna rank up Hood whenever he gets the buff again, since he's gonna have
I'm
re-added?
waiting. So I'm waiting to see what happens to him. So I've got at R2, I've got Symbiote Supreme, and I love him, but he is very situational. I don't have an R3 Mystic right now. So I've got him, I've got Sorcerer Supreme, who everyone in the world seems to love except me. I've tried her out. I rank 2'd her to try to force myself to use that T5C, and I just couldn't do it. But I'm also a suicides junkie, so that's got a lot to do with it. Um, I've got a ton of really good suicide champs, and I really don't like the process of changing masteries, and I don't like the cost, and I'm not gonna do it unless I'm gonna take on every bit of content that I need to have suicides off. Otherwise, if I'm looking for an alliance, one of the first things that I tell them is suicides are staying on or they're staying off, and I'm not going back and forth. So like I'm cool with it either way, but if you want my defenders to not have suicides, then I'm not going to be using an R3 Omega. I'm not going to be using these champs, and we'll have to find different answers to things. So I don't know about Hood, man. I've got a multi-duped Mephisto. I've got some other decently cool Mystic champs, but I don't have Dragon Man. I would rank him. I don't have a 6-star Doom. I would rank him. And maybe a Tigra, but I don't really want to learn Tigra. I'm kind of happy being lazy about Tigra. I went through, the difficult learning champs. I've got Ghost down. I've got Quake down. Now learning Tigra is just kind of like, I watch Metal Sonic, and it's so fun to see what he can do with a champ when he decides, okay, I'm gonna master this one. It's super duper fun to watch him, and I watch his Tigra stuff, and I'm like, I'm too lazy for that. So
Yeah.
uh, I can wait to see what happens to Hood. I can wait to see if a Doom appears or a Dragon Man. Would love Dragon Man. I tried to talk myself into Long Shot. I tried to talk myself into Sasquatch. I've also got the my Awakening gem that I have right now is Mystic, and so Longshot was one that I wanted really, really bad when he came out. Like I was dying for a long shot, and I got him as a 5. I used him some, and I couldn't talk myself into rank fiving him. Now I've got him as a 6, and I'm like, no. Sasquatch, it's fun to put the pain on people with your defense. Uh, but can't really do that with him unless I'm running high MD and take suicides off, and I'm not going to use him that much for content. And yeah, no, I'm not going to do that either. So um, I'm super duper picky, if you couldn't tell.
Okay. So you mentioned the synergies thing. One of the things I noticed whenever I got my 6-star Black Panther is he only has three different synergies, and one of them is with a 1-star Deadpool. Do you think that's something that we could possibly see changed in the future with his buff?
I I think so, but the band's kind of stingy about that. Go through. Um, so there's a site I use called marvelsynergy.com. And I don't really know who makes that site, but it's a very, very useful site. Um, I know that Slug is kind of working synergy stuff into Aunt May. I believe he is anyway. But Marvel Synergy has been the best one that I know of to show the full tree. So, if one champ has a synergy going one way but not the other way, that site will show you everything. And so going through that when you get a good pull or somebody gets buffed, um, and you look back at especially the older champs, like you're saying, it's also just disappointing. There was a time and a place where uh, plus 50 crit damage or whatever was, kind of cool. But that also kind of sort of went away with 12.0 in reality. So I feel like they need to do a lot more work on that. And there are definitely nuggets that they have thrown out there from time to time that have been kind of like, oh, wow, let me play around with this energy that nobody's noticing right now. But some of them don't really play out like you expect them to. There was the um, Ant-Man and God, who was it that gave Ant-Man thorns, basically? Was it Doc Ock or somebody else? So
I don't remember that.
there was a time where somebody came out or somebody got a buff, and I'll see if I can pull it up while I'm talking to you. Um, and everybody got super duper excited because all of a sudden Ant-Man was going to be useful and this killer defender and blah 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 blah. But it didn't really work out that. Like it sounded good on paper. It didn't work out in there it is. It didn't work out in the game. So um, Ant-Man reflects. Okay, so the Doctor Octopus synergy with Ant-Man. Um, Ant-Man reflects 40% of physical damage done by attacks that make contact with his glancing hits. So it sounded really good on paper. When playing it, it really didn't do much of anything because it needed 75 other things to happen for that damage to go back. Um, there's a lot that they can do with synergies, and I know that they've got a lot of balls in the air that they need to keep in the air, and there's got to be balance there because if they do too much, and all of a sudden these two, three champs are ridiculously op, well, we all freak out. That was a shit champ before. Now you gave him the synergy. Everybody's going crazy. We're going to clear all this content, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, Kabam likes to uh, try to do just enough, I guess is the right way to say it. Always seemingly in fear of doing too much. And you go along like that for 6 months where you're like, come on, guys, like pull the trigger. Let's get something fun in here. Let's do this. Let's do this. And then all of a sudden, they release basically a game breaking champ. Um, and everybody goes for that champ. And, you've got Corvus running the world for a year and a half or more. And then it's back to trying to have that deft hand and not do too much in fear of throwing an imbalance into everything and people flipping out. So
Yeah, that's
I'd love
that's
to
kind
see
of
him
how
do
I
more, like you said, though.
that's kind of how I feel like Apocalypse is nowadays.
Oh,
And
for
or
sure.
like you've got the Red Goblin synergy with Symbiote Spider-Man.
Mhm.
So
That's a fun one.
it seems like they're trying, but it's just not enough.
I'd I'd love to know what makes them decide that they're gonna kind of sort of pull that trigger with this energy, but we're not gonna worry about all these other ones. They're good OG champs. I, I I know not many people like Electra, but she was always a fun one for me. Um, she's a killer. There's a couple of other ones. Winter Soldier. You've got that. God, what did they call it? The Dark Trinity or the Unholy Trinity, whatever it was, and him, Killmonger, Void, Winter Soldier can go beast for a while. But that was basically just mimicking Star Lord through synergy, which was cool and fun, but none of it works in the meta of the game. And I think that's the frustrating part is, to me, I've always been trying to chase that meta and see where it's gonna go before time, so that I can prepare for it. Keep an eye on what nodes are popping up in defenses. Keep an eye on what they're trying to do here with new champs that are coming out. Um, are they all stagger champs? Are we going to have a whole bunch of miss champs? Are we going to do this? And I try to prepare for that ahead of time so that I have an easy time because I'm an extremely lazy player now. And so the meta seems to all be determined by just the new champs, the couple of synergies that are throwbacks, and then everybody else gets forgotten, and they really have no place in the game. And that kind of sucks. The changes to EQ that just happened last month seem like they're doing the same thing, and that's a little bit worrisome for me. So, you had on the Cavalier side of EQ, you had a quest for each class, and that's cool. Let's mix it up. But they were very specific. They weren't too hard, but there were ways that you could rank up champs to deal with those nodes in a better way. And interestingly enough, a couple of buffs that happened just worked really well with some of those nodes in Cavalier EQ. And that's cool. But now we got a different EQ. And so the goalposts move a little bit. the impetus to rank this champ or that champ moves a little bit. Um, it's always got to change. It can't ever stay the same. I get that, but it can be frustrating to stay on top of it and keep chasing that carrot constantly. Um, and then all of a sudden, this new god tier gets dropped that destroys everything. And for 6 months, that's what you're chasing. Um, that can drive you crazy.
Yeah, I totally get that. Jax, you got anything else, man?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting you brought up Ant Man, and especially the Yellow Jacket. How Yellow Jacket actually doesn't buff Ant Man. So I have a theory that Ant Man's gonna get buffed one of these months, and we do have two reworks coming out next month. And someone on I think someone on Twitter, I forgot who it was asking like, who do you think will be the two reworks we have in April? And I was thinking that because last year in April we had a Marvel Realm of Champions event, and if you haven't seen the State of the Battle Realm map, there's a connection to the Iron Legionnaire and the Black Panther. So I was thinking that like these reworks are gonna be Iron Man and Classic Black Panther because we were told Classic Black Panther was being worked on. Some people said Miles, but I feel like they said that it was on the to do list to make Miles Morales. So I don't think Miles is gonna be able to be finished this month and come out next month. But I thought that was really cool.
So Miles has had his game already land. So I feel like they missed the whole synergizing with Marvel opportunity there.
For sure.
Um, Black Panther would be really interesting, but I don't know what they do with him really. It'd be fun to see because he is a fun champ.
Yeah.
But I'd be happy if he just didn't have the same damn animations as Wolverine in the end. Um, I'm kind of looking at those two offers that just hit this week and won't go away from my unit store. So we had the Jane Foster offer for Android players and the Hella offer for iPhone players, I believe.
Yeah.
And so that one was, and I totally could be putting on a tinfoil hat right now, but it was kind of interesting that those two came through. So, you know, um, I know we had International Women's Day, and those characters weren't involved with it. Maybe it was just throwing some spotlight on them. But I know that Jane Foster is going to be a big part of the new Thor movie. Um, I don't know if Hela's gonna show back up or not, but it felt kind of weird to see those two in particular come up on an offer with some big time revives and other stuff, and it made me kind of scratch my head a little bit.
Yeah, I think it just had to do with it being an Asgardian event. Because like I think everyone in the community was like, dude, we're having Odin and Mangog, two Asgardian characters.
Totally could be.
Why not do like a whole Asgardian event with the buffs? And I've noticed this is like they don't buffs are really interesting, and I haven't really figured it out like why certain characters get buffed and why others don't, and they've never synergized with certain events. The only time I think was White Magneto and Red Magneto for the
Yeah,
apocalypse. That was like the only time they've ever synergized with buffs. Um,
makes sense.
so yeah, I thought it was interesting, and I think, like I said, I think it's just as Guardian event, and plus I don't think Hela needs an overhaul. But Jane Foster for sure. But I would love to see buffed, and Hela I think just needs like a tune up at least. So yeah, we talked. You said that you wanted to buff one character, which is Doctor Strange. What is one character you'd want added to the game?
Um, so that's a bad question. I don't mean that you asked a bad question. It's a bad question for me. I'm a DC fan. I go
Oh
with
no,
because of my kids.
I'm kidding.
So yeah, give me. You won't name DC guys. Um, I would. The one that's always bothered me for not being around is Jessica Jones. Um,
Ooh,
Having all of that stuff in game, but not usable, it's kind of stuck in everybody's crawl for years now. and I know she's not like flashy.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
I mean, she just beats the hell out of you. But it's all there already. Are we gonna get another Iron Man, another Spider, another Deadpool that is coated in some other sort of metal? You already got Jessica Jones in the game. Like she's just chilling there. Like let's have some fun with her. Plus, that was a show that I felt like didn't get enough applause. Like I loved the Jessica Jones show. Like
Oh,
it
dude,
was
so
super
good.
duper awesome.
Yeah, so it's interesting because when she got data mined, she was data mined a month before her initial event in the game. She literally just had Black Widow specials. So you're talking about like Black Panther
Hmm.
has other like. So
Hmm.
I don't think Jessica Jones will ever be playable because even Kabam Gabe said, "Yo, she's not
Oh, I don't think
flashy."
so either.
So, but there is someone who is in the game files who has been in more events than Jessica Jones, and that's Jean Grey. Now, Jean Grey is someone who's became Phoenix and Dark Phoenix, and then back to Phoenix, and then back to Jean Grey, and then back to Phoenix. Like they could do so much with her, and we just had Professor X, so like we know someone who is mostly telepathic. She's obviously telekinetic as well. Like that's who my most wanted like player that's not in the game that's been in the game files for about the same time. Well, I guess she's been in a year less than Jessica Jones, but I would love Jessica Jean Grey over Jessica Jones.
Were you playing during the mashup quest that we had back in the day?
Which one are you talking about?
I believe it was the Frank Strange. They would basically mash up two characters. I think it was like a Halloween thing or the Venom Pool thing, possibly. So you had Strange and Punisher squished into one character.
Yeah, the
Uh, they used some of them in Act Seven.
yeah. So those are the Modoc.
You
Yeah, those are the Modoc ones where Modoc combined two champions.
give me those. Like, let me get them.
Oh, okay.
Let me
Oh,
let me
really?
let me have some fun with those. That
Yeah.
would be a blast. There's a guy on YouTube that I don't think it was any of like the known data people slash hackers that are around now. But there was some dude that hacked it and had them as playable characters and had a lot of fun with it.
Oh, very cool.
And that looked like it was kind of neat. I mean, it's a you would have to do it on, a total burner account because everything that you would have to do is completely against TOS and you'll get screwed for it one way or another. But it looked like he could have fun with it. And
Hmm.
I mean, he could run a couple of quests and that's basically it, but some fun characters. I like weird stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a list I'm working on with the other Gabe El Gabarino with the Future Society, and I have a list of
Yep,
like
yep.
all T's champions in the dialogue of the game. So, or even the dialogue or promotional images or New York Comic Con, and a lot of those like I was just you were talking about like non-playable characters as well, and like I have these on the like I have 120 characters right now who have like Ban have said like or have name dropped as character, or said this person's joining soon or whatnot. So I just thought I wanted to bring that up. Um,
The good thing is Kabam Gabe uh is a fan, like first
yeah.
off.
Oh yeah.
And that's a boon for Kabam and the players. Like it's not always going to go the way that all of us want it to go as far as who joins. Um, but you're almost guaranteed that at least the style, the animations are gonna be pretty much dead on. Now, I don't know that he has much to do with um, any sort of abilities, synergies, anything like that. I'm sure if he has a say, he wants them to be as on point with the lore as possible. But him being such a big fan, I remember how much work he put into Sunspot. Like I remember, he even did the Sunspot voice for the video. That one was close to his heart from Brazil. Um, like, dude pours himself into it, and it's impressive what he's able to do, and also the care he has for it all. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. 100%, man. I
So.
I've been reaching out to Kabam members to be on for the podcast, and my top person to ever have on the podcast is Kabam Gabe. I would love to have him on, and so I can't. Hopefully that happens one day.
I've I believe he's done a couple of things here and there, right? Like,
Yeah, he's been on the unofficial Marvel Champions podcast.
yeah,
So I would.
yeah,
I haven't reached out. I haven't reached out to it yet. We've kind of booked for a lot of months in the future. So I just want to wait till we're
gotcha.
like a little bit closer so we can schedule it. But most of the Kabam members I've reached out to, they said, "Hey, we're too busy at the moment. We'd love to be on in the future." So it's totally understandable that I'm sure he's super busy, especially running like contest and realm. Like he's the art director for both games, so I can totally
Yep.
tell it's gonna be hard to book him.
Well, let's get rid of Realm, and
Oh no.
that'll free him up a little bit. And sorry,
So, do you play Rome at all?
you know what? I downloaded it um so that I could grab my name. Um, and I played it a little bit, and just not my style. Um, not knocking it because I haven't played it enough to be like this is a good or bad game. It just flat out isn't really my style. Um, I know a lot of people that love that kind of game. Um, just not my style. And honestly, there's really no good way to say this either. So, uh, I'll pass on getting myself involved in two Kabam games. One is enough for me, basically.
Yeah, I definitely understand exactly what you're talking about. Hopefully, Realm just kind of becomes like. I mean, Contest wasn't great in the beginning. Like, I literally stopped playing Contest when it first came out. So like, I took a 2 year break, and then when I came back, I was like, dude, oh my goodness, this game is so good today. So I hope Realm doesn't take 2 years to do that. Not saying like
Uh,
Contest took 2 years to get good. I'm just saying I just left the game for 2 years.
you know,
So
to me, the saving grace in contest at every downturn and every problematic area was the community, was the social aspect of the game. The reason that the game built in the way that it did over time was the social aspect of the game. The thing that holds players on now, the old timers, the people that just keep going, the ones looking for a retirement alliance, the ones that are just doing a Q, the ones that might just be doing a W, whatever it is, the social aspect is what has kept it going through 12.0, through whatever various boycotts came and went. Um, it's that social side of things. And that's one thing that Kabam has never been able to understand and work with. And that's probably one of the more frustrating things for me. But if they can figure that out with Realm, um, it'll have the exact same amount of success money wise, download wise, current player wise, or active player wise, that MCOC does. Because it's as much as it's just you going into a fight and doing the same damn thing over and over 400 times in a day, it's the social aspect that has really carried it through everything. To me, um, I've seen players come and go, but the majority of them hold on because they want to play with their buddies. They want to stick with this alliance. They like talking to people on Discord, Line, whatever it might be, and that's been an extremely lucky thing for Kabam because it's been a player built and a player driven side of things that Kabam has been able to benefit from. I wish they would um, if they want Realm to be really, really, really successful, I hope they see that and somehow kind of implement that in a better way.
Okay. So I mean, Last week, I kind of talked to Royal about transparency from Kabam. Do you think that the roadmap could use a little bit of an update?
Good luck with it. Um, that roadmap was you got to look at the timing of it and what was going on, and the issues in the game, the issues um, with war, with the changes that were happening, with everybody freaking out about, well, you're going to, you guys said that there are buffs coming out this month. Um, but that's not necessarily what Kabam promised. Kabam promised changes, and they promised to try to make sure that those were positive changes, but sometimes it might have to go the other way. Um, so when that roadmap hit the game and the players, there was a ton of bad stuff going on. There was a ton of strife, a ton of pulling back and forth. Um, and the roadmap realistically was direct, a direct answer to all the bad stuff happening and all the people freaking out and all the people trying to hold Kabam's feet to the flames, because the only way to get anything out of Kabam, truthfully, is player pressure. And there was enough of it that they actually acted. Same thing with the hood. Same thing with every change that's ever happened. Same thing if you want to go back to 12. Uh, the stuff that players got, Kabam definitely sort of had a plan in place uh, to reimburse, if you will, players. But the rest of what happened on top of that was player pressure. Um, Not going with gear, player pressure. So that roadmap is cool, and it was definitely a good move on Kabam's part, and there should be about 10,000 times as much transparency as there is now. But there should also be um, a way for players to really have a voice. Um, there should be a lot more communication about the good, the bad, and the in between. Um, Kabam does that roadmap is going to change. It's already changed some. Uh, it's only logical that it's going to have to be altered over time and evolve. Those are goals. Those are goals that they set for themselves and things they wanted to work towards. And as they work towards them, I'm sure they're going to figure out that this one doesn't really fit, or we can do this one better. That's just part of life and running a game and a company and everything else. It's going to be ever evolving, but hell yes, they need to be much, much more transparent, much more upfront about things. Um, the hood situation wouldn't have happened had they been so. Um, I don't know if CCP tested out hood in the past. Those buffs haven't been anything that the CCP gets to test out. It's the new champs that they get to test. Uh, believe there might have been once or twice when some of the buffs were tested beforehand. Um, but Kabam is real straightforward about, or at least in the past, has been real straightforward about the fact that, um, well, let's see, they actually say it two different ways. On the one hand, they say they thoroughly test everything, that their testing is really top notch, and they thoroughly test everything to the best of their ability to make sure that they produce a great product and blah, 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 blah. And then on the other hand, or out of the other side of their mouth, they will say, well, there's no way we can test everything. There's too many nodes. There's too many interactions. There's too many synergies. There's too much content. You guys are the best testers in the world. And they make it very plain that all of us are their testing program. And if you look at it logically, it kind of has to be that way. Um, are they going to hire 300 players to sit around and test stuff all the time leading up to release? No, because that cuts into profits. Um, it's not worth it uh, to them for whatever reason they want to throw out there. So yeah, uh, to get back to your question, transparency is huge for me. They should update that roadmap every single month. Uh, they should do, one of the things that they did that was really awesome in CCP was kind of like an Ask Me Anything presentation with discussion and questions answered by devs who were working on whatever subject we were going over at the time. Um, Really helpful, really insightful, a good way um, to know what's coming and to be able to be prepared for it, but also to be able to throw out possible issues, potential pitfalls, um, areas where players will give some pushback, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's a really good thing for both sides of that equation, as long as words are heeded properly. Um, Advice is taken and internalized, even if it is not applied immediately. Um, my thing is always going to be players need info, and Kabam needs to listen to players because all too often players tell Kabam what the fix needs to be, and then we go through weeks of turmoil and stupidity, and then the fix that the players said should happen is usually twisted up a little bit, but supplied in the end. And then we go back to normal until the next time it happens and we start all over again.
Yeah.
And that's, it's you're gonna run into problems. And like I said, Kabam has their own goals, and we're just players. And so they can 1000% take the stance of, hey, it's our product, guys. We're gonna do what we want with it. Um, but then they've got to expect blowback and got to expect unhappy customers. And in the end, um, we vote with our pocketbook. So let's not get in this headbutting match. Let's work together. Players get what they want, and Kabam gets what they want. It's a pretty simple scenario. I don't know why it's always such a difficult thing to go through because it is literally always the most difficult thing in the world to go through.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think Slayer of Gods, he brought up, like, he was talking about how Ghost can be hit by Daredevil now. Um,
Yeah,
like, so, which is like, it's like
out of
really,
the blue.
yeah, like, why is that a thing if she's literally becoming intangible, meaning you cannot touch her? But for him, it's because she's missing. That's the interaction. And Kabam came out and said, well, this is our game. It doesn't work. Physics don't work the same way in the battle realm. So basically, it's kind of like a scapegoat. Um,
But but you and every rational player knows that that is BS, and that is Kabam saying, "Screw you. We did it because we wanted to, because there's something else coming soon." Like there's always something else coming soon, and that builds on it. Do you remember when Archangel was nerfed?
a little bit. I wasn't actually play. This is the part of the game when I was out. I wasn't. I didn't come
Okay.
back.
So, Archangel being able to stun unstunnable, basically, because of um, his things wearing off. Sorry, my brain's not working
It
right
was
now.
the neurotoxin,
Um,
right?
yes, thank you very much. So Archangel used forever, specifically for certain war nodes where that interaction came into play. That interaction had been confirmed as working as intended by Kabam Forum mods. The post is still there. If they have finally deleted the post, there are plenty of screenshots around it. Interestingly enough, nobody ever saw that forum moderator again, but a Kabam moderator confirmed it. They nerfed Archangel. They didn't like anybody calling it a nerf, get in trouble. They'd argue with you, et cetera, et cetera. And then we had Wasp. And what does Wasp do?
Passive stun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when you see a change like that, Ghost and Daredevil, to me, the right thought process is, some shit's coming. Like, and it's happened before with other champs as well. As far as Kabam is concerned, they don't make any sort of silent nerfs. They also do not make silent changes. But every player who looks at abilities pages regularly or knows their favorite champions or most used champions abilities pages by heart, uh, they'll tell you differently. Things change. Uh, they don't make it to the change log. Sometimes they are bigger than other things. Sometimes there's no big deal, just little things that fix interactions that can mount up and cause problems. But to buy into the we don't silently nerf, we don't silently change, is just really asinine. And that one, like I said, I've got a feeling that somebody's coming along at some point that is going to utilize something there in that Ghost Daredevil interaction. So it'll be fun to see if it happens.
Could be the new hood buff.
I'm wondering what they're gonna do with that change. If they're just gonna scrap it, or if they're gonna. I know everybody's
So
wanting to get that fate seal back in there, but that's also gonna screw up his bullets and everything else, and so it's just a big mess now.
yeah, they had a forum post not too long ago, just basically saying this he's getting reverted back, and then we're gonna actually implement the same. I'm pretty sure they pretty much said the same thing, just with Fate Steel, and then they're gonna tune some stuff. And that's basically all they said. Like he'll be back to normal. He'll be back to what his buff was, but with Fate Steel, and then stuff will be tuned. Because I heard they said there was a lot of bugs with him, so they're just gonna fix the bugs, give him Fate Steel, and I think they'll call it a day.
Hey, what would work really well with something like that is having a month in between releasing champs and EQ so that they could work out those bugs and make sure that the product is a little bit more pristine when it reaches the player. Just a thought.
Yeah, just like you were talking about. I mean, it makes a whole lot more sense though, because they would have more time to release a new champ and more time to like if they would just flip flop it back and forth or something, like to buff the champ and release a new champ on the off
It
weeks.
just seems logical, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I've had the conversation a lot of times and I've been told a man-hour problem. And it's not a this problem and it's not a that problem. And okay, that's great that that's being said, but that's not really what I see. Um, I don't see the back end. I'm not running around the offices. I don't see what everybody's working on. I see the finished product. And I know when I am rushing something for my work, um, I know when I've got deadlines coming up, and I know when I'm not going to have enough time to meet this deadline and do my job to 100%. So I'm going to squeak by at 85, 90% if I can make it there and hope that it's good enough.
Yeah, no
Maybe
doubt.
maybe Marvel superhero and villain development is different than everything else in the world though. So I don't know.
Yeah, JX, you got anything else, man?
No, that's it. That's all my notes.
All right. Uh, Chunky B. I think that'd be about it for us, man. We're a little over an hour. Um, if you got anything you want to plug, real quick.
No, man, I don't really plug, man. I do what I do and that's about it. I hope that I didn't bore you guys and I appreciate you having me on. I hope your listeners enjoyed at least part of it.
Yeah, dude, it's super informative. I think, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it was great, man. Thank
Not
you.
not a problem, guys. Not a problem. I'll look forward to the next ones and check them out, see who you got on.
All right. Thanks. Thanks again for coming by. Chunky B, check him out on Twitter. He was in this Summer Showdown for the first year. Check that out too. But everybody have a great Saturday evening, and